evening, everyone. Good afternoon. I'll try and be quick because I know you're probably in between you and the bar or your family or something else more important. But before we get to the future leaders list, I just wanted to say something about diversity, which I think is quite important. Today we heard that the number of female creative directors has doubled in 6 years to 27%, amid the great work that Creative Equals and others continue to do. So that's some progress, but obviously not good enough. And as Ali said earlier, that's particularly a problem when you start looking at intersectionality. But I thought it might be worth taking a moment to talk about pay, because pay can be more powerful than titles, and there's been multiple waves of data on the gender pay gap in the last few months. The picture they paint is uneven, and it's difficult to plot the course that we're travelling along. In March, Campaign reported, and there's a few numbers, and I don't have any pretty slides, so I'm sorry. That sounded very Yorkshire then, didn't it? I don't have any slides, so I'll try and be as clear as possible. But in March, Campaign reported that the average median gender pay gap among the agencies that provided their data shrunk marginally. That was from 16% to 14.1%. The list of agencies is different every year, but it does suggest a direction of travel. But later, the same week, the IPA census found that, according to their data, the gender pay gap had actually widened. So it expanded to 23.3% from 22.7% the previous year. So it's probably not incidental that the number of women employed by IPA agencies also rose during that time after contracting in 2020. But as I often say in the office at Campaign, most explanations of pay gaps are not the defence people think they are. Yes, you have a high proportion of junior women in your agency. Why is that proportion not continuing through the business? It's great that you promoted women to the board, but why are you not paying them as much as the men that were on the board already, even if they do have more experience? But back to the figures. So in April, we got the government figures, and they actually said things were getting better again. So among advertising businesses, it went, and then there are a lot of numbers. So it was 11.9%, which was down for 15% a year earlier. Today, we heard another set of figures, which was from major players, and by their estimates, the gender pay gap is also down to 15.5% from 18.1%. So what's my point? Basically, it's a confusing picture. It's difficult to discern a pattern, but one thing is very clear. As Mel Exon of WACL said, the process is glacially slow, and at the moment, that's being a bit harsh on glaciers. WACL has described closing the gender pay gap as the ultimate proof of progress on gender equality, and for good reason. When the other criteria that signify equality are in place, then the pay gap begins to narrow at a much greater pace. When we did the school reports, we actually had 4 agencies that claimed they had a 0 gender pay gap. So I thought I'd contact them to ask them how they'd managed it. Turned out that 2 of the 4 had got their numbers wrong. The other 2, who are the Corner and Red Brick Road, do have a pay gap of 0. And so I asked them how they'd managed it and if they had any recommendations. There were proper benchmarking, including checking against existing salaries against the market and potentially rising existing salaries to match it, considering salaries when they're offered to new starters and comparing those with the existing staff, including taking into account any diversity metrics, and also putting those gender and ethnicity metrics into the senior leaders' KPIs. So none of these are radical or new ideas, so I implore those of you in the audience who are in a position to do something about it to do so. And if you're not a manager, maybe you could have a quiet word with your manager to ask what they're doing. It is, of course, impossible to talk about the gender pay gap without mentioning the role of many women caring for their children or other family members. Now, the ability to work flexibly is something that many people require or desire after they welcome children into their family, and this can impact the roles they go for or get and their pay. So at an event to launch the Cannes Lions a few weeks ago, Jane Evans, the author and campaigner, gave a stirring speech encouraging people to support women and tackle the gender pay gap. But one of the things she said struck me, and it was that in 1990, she worked in a creative department that had a 50-50 gender split. So what happened? Well, one of her answers was that highly successful, massively awarded women walked away from their careers or made them smaller to take on the most fascinating, rewarding, challenging, creative project of their lives. So as mother of 2 children, the idea that women and primary carers have been struggling with this for 30 years made me quite emotional. You know, the practicalities of balancing a rewarding career and a family are not straightforward, even for those of us who are lucky enough to be happy and supported in our current choices. So for all the gains in gender equality, there is more to do. Earlier today, Mandy Reid asked the industry for an effective campaign for universal childcare. The cost of childcare is a major factor of many people's choices, and campaigning in that area is really important. So I ask that we all learn from those who are doing better and ask where we can be part of the solution. I'm going to try in among everything else. So I hope that's not too much of a downer. But to move on to more celebratory matters, we are delighted that Campaign has continued its partnership with Creative Equals and the Future Leaders List this year. The list has done an impeccable job of highlighting the female, non-binary and gender non-conforming talent across the industry. As we heard earlier, people like the brilliant Jo Wallace with her shiny new job, which you might tell me about at some point, have previously been on the list. So I want to say thank you to all the people at Creative Equals who work so hard running the scheme. Do a clap. And of course, and running today, all the judges for their time, and of course, all the people who entered. You know, there's an abundance of talent out there, but the judges somehow managed to narrow the list down to 30 people. So if you're in the audience and your name gets called and you feel comfortable, and I say your name, please stand up. Obviously, if you're not comfortable, that's fine, don't worry, but we will hopefully give you a nice big cheer. If you are here. If not, obviously, the details, all the winners, the list, and also a little profile of all the winners will be on the campaign website from pretty soon, I think, given that we've run a little bit over, so I better hurry. Right, so making the campaign and Creative Equals Future Leaders List this year are Nova Dando, who's a director and creative director, Saf Kelly, who's a creative strategist at Born Social. Farida Begum, who's a multicultural content and partnerships manager at Unite, which is part of Omnicom Media Group. You might have to put your hands up and dance, I think, for me to see you, if you are here. Maybe everyone else can point out. We've got Rebecca Roundtree, who's a creative director at Leah Burnett. Jackie Freezy, who's a senior art director and a creative design lead at Meta. Oh, they're all up there, I better hurry up. Pearlie Areta, who's associate creative director at VML YNR. Rosie May Bird-Smith, who's a writer and creative at Havas London. Arohu Deer, who's a creative strategist at YouTube. Helen Rogerson, who's a creative at the Ann Partnership London. Pardon me. Emily Drake, who's an associate creative director. Christina Miller, who's head of social media at VML YNR London. Abigail Stevenson, who's a senior creative, also at VML-Y&R. Jessica Giles, who's creative director at FCB Inferno. Amy Parkhill, who's a creative at M&C Saatchi and the co-founder of Ideas and That. We've got Michelle Troy, who's a designer and freelance design consultant. We've got the art director, Lucy Harrison, and the copywriter, Emma Gallagher, who are a midweight creative team. We've got Savina Sarana, who's a co-founder of Identity 2.0 and a producer at Unfold Stories. We've got Jala Kenchington, who's a creative director at Jellyfish. I'm standing up yet. Someone's going to be here, aren't they? No? Hey, ooh, hey. Have I said her name already? Oh, gosh, sorry. I really should have hurried up. Okay, well, we've got a really big cheer now, everybody, because we've got an actual winner in the room. Sorry, and she's going to kill me. Apologies. But really well done. So we've got Cara Jessica Mallet, who's a senior graphic designer at Draftline. Fantastic of you to join us. We got B Punk, who's the head of voice at Grey London. Tasha Rosehill is an associate creative director, at Media Monks. We have Harriet Russell-Vick and Lauren Buggins, who are the creative art director, and a creative copywriter, respectively, at TBWA London. Okay, so we've got Morgan Kirk, who's a senior project director at Days Media. We have Camille Standen, who's senior content creative at Adam and Eve DDB. Sophie Taylor, who's a creative at BBH London. We've got Oriana Gator, who's a design director at RGA. Tanya Holbrook, who's a design director at Uncommon Creative Studio. And we have Becky Salmon and Sani Strand, who's a joint design leads at FCB Inferno. Marty Davies, who's a creative journalist at Smarty Pants. Great. Well done. And Kelsey Spencer, who's a product marketing manager at Google. So this morning, Jazz Ampar Farr told us that we're only as powerful as the stories we tell. So I'm sure being on this list will just be one small part of the incredible stories of all your careers. So we at Campaign look forward to writing about them, and thank you very much.
So I have to just say a massive thank you to Maisie, because the coffee was incredibly late, like total nightmare, a few last minute changes, so massive thank you for working with us, Maisie. Can I have some flowers onto the stage? Thank you so much. Can you give her a massive round of applause? Thank you, Campaign. Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you so much, Campaign, for being our partners. And we're going to wrap up now. And because I know that there's just drinks waiting at the back of the room, that you've been an amazing audience today. You must be just really keen to just go and have a really big glass of wine, because I sure am. But before we wrap up, I want to bring the Creative Equals team onto the stage. Will you come onto the stage, Creative Equals team? Everybody, come on, come on. Okay, one more. Just stay there, because I want you to give this team a standing ovation. This is the Flex Events team. Come onto the stage, Jack and Emily. Where are you? And Maggie, where's Maggie? Music, please. Can we have some loud music? Thank you. Volunteers, come up, volunteers. And the volunteers. Michael Brown, come up. Come on, team, onto the stage. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, all helpers. Okay, family photograph. Everybody, family photograph. Drink.